What's up, everyone? All right, so red day recap here today. I'm bummed. It's a big red day, but that's life. I had a couple big green days last week, a big green day on Wednesday, so it's okay. Giving back what I made on Wednesday, essentially. So I still have Thursday's profit on the month, so I'm green on the month, not by as much as I was, but that's all right. I'll keep it going. I'll be back at it next week. Remember, the market's closed on Monday, so next week is a short week. But I'll be back on Tuesday, see if I can have a decent day. And remember, just one red day doesn't have to become a red streak. You have to stay disciplined, stay focused, and just brush it off, get back on the horse, and look for a nice base hit. And that'll be what I'll be doing on Tuesday. I hope you enjoy the recap. As always, my results are not typical, and you should assume as a beginner trader that you would lose money. So with that assumption, trade in a simulator before you put real money on the line. I hope you enjoy the recap. It's a red day recap, and I kind of break down sort of the emotional stuff, which I think is always helpful for you guys. So please hit that thumbs up, and I'll see you first thing on Tuesday morning. All right, so, it's a red day recap, and I'm giving back everything that I made on Wednesday. On Wednesday, let's see, I was up about 40,000. I was up 15 yesterday, so gave back all of Wednesday's profit back to up about 15,000 on the month. Oh boy. So, this, unfortunately, it's so discouraging. Let me just hide the scanners for a second. So this ruins my metrics. It just kills my metrics when I have these types of losses. And that's what I'm kind of thinking about more than anything are my metrics. From last month to yesterday, I was up 224,000. Profit loss ratio had finally gotten to about 1-to-1 after a couple of big winners. But if we look at my profit loss ratio just for, let's see, no, it was a good one, even despite one big loser. Well, it's going to be ruined after today, taking a big loss on IMPL. So what's the deal with this one? Well, it was halted pre-market. So we saw the news headline that the stock was halted, then saw the news come out that they got FDA approval. And I read the headline, and I thought that seemed like a pretty solid headline. Well, I guess it goes to show not to be, let's see, there it is. Not to try to overinterpret the headline. Sometimes the news doesn't really matter. Just if there is news is what matters. I read the headline and I thought, okay, I get migraines. This is a migraine drug. Sounds promising. It sounds pretty good. It's pretty interesting. So it resumes from the halt and goes from $28 to $45. Nice squeeze, right? Yeah, for sure. I thought it was going to go higher. I added in my big account as it started squeezing up right here, and I just kept adding. I went big, and right through here, I held into the open, was looking for a trade over the halt level, and I cut the loss as it broke down at 32 right here and lost $41,000. So I'm in the red 41,000, and I don't know. Maybe it'll curl later in the day. Maybe next week it'll be better. I thought I had the right idea on this one, but I let my interpretation of the fundamentals override what the technicals were showing me, which was a topping tail candle, then a red candle, then a false breakout, then a drop all the way down to 32. I was green on it. I was green if I had just taken profit up here, I would have been green. If I hadn't taken profit and not gotten back in, I would have been green, probably $30,000. So that was the swing in the P&L from up 30 to down 40. That's a $70,000 swing from top to bottom. It's a big swing. Well, so kind of back to square one for the month of September. I guess this had the potential, I thought, to give me a pretty huge month, a pretty huge day, which would have put me in great shape on the month. And I screwed it up.
I'm discouraged for sure. But as I said before, if you can't handle discouragement, trading is the wrong career, because this is part of trading. You get knocked down and you get back up. You got to get back up. And you're going to get knocked down again. And then you got to get back up again. And that's just going to keep happening until you eventually stop trading. That's just the way trading is as a career. This isn't like running a ice cream stand or a banana stand where you just keep making new bananas and serving them. And it's not the post office where it's just envelope after envelope and it's the same routine. This is a very volatile job, trading in a very volatile market. And I thrive on that. I like the excitement of the big green days. And they wouldn't feel good if it weren't for the big red days. So, I think we all get the adrenaline rush on those days. And today I took a big trade and the potential was huge. And that was a rush. That was an excitement. And it could have worked, and it almost did. But then it didn't. And so the loss is also, I suppose, a bit of a, like emotional response. And now I've got to buckle down next week and start focusing on recouping this loss. $40,000, I can get that back in one or two good days, no problem. But it's disappointing. Those 1 or 2 good days could have been adding profit to the month. Instead, I'm back to square one. But each one of these drawdowns, you can see right here. This is just like the last year. I can go back a little bit further. Let's see. Each one of these drawdowns here, 47,000, 26,000. Those were multiple back-to-back red days. And then coming into 2020, I started to step it up. Had a pretty big drawdown right there. That was a pretty big drawdown. I really didn't have much of a drawdown through even the hottest part of 2020. But then coming to the end of 2020, that's when I've started to see some bigger drawdowns. But I've recovered from every single one of them. And so right now, when I come in on Monday, I'll be down 40,000 off my all-time highs in the account. All-time high from 2017, when I started my small account challenge, is 8.29 million. So off a high of 8 million, 8.29 million, I'll be down 40,000, which when you look at it in that big picture, it's a tiny, tiny little blip. You can barely even see it on the chart. Just a tiny little blip. So I'll be down just a little bit off those highs, and then I'll recover. But it's not how I wanted to go into a long weekend. No question about that. I literally said before I started trading, you don't want to go take a big loss going into a long weekend. Well, then look at me. Take a big loss going into the long weekend. So now I get to think about this all weekend, and instead of feeling like, hey, I'm up 60,000 on the month, it's smooth sailing, wind's at my back, I just got to coast. Well, now I'm back to up 15,000. That for me is more or less break even. So I'm back to flat on the month, and I've got to start over. So I'll start over on Tuesday, flat on the month. And the goal is still 200 grand, but first target's 100 grand, and it's going to take a couple of really good trading days to get back there. But, it'll happen. So in hindsight, I just got, I got too biased on it. I just thought the headline was so good that it would make a big move. And the technicals pretty early on showed that it was struggling. And, if I had just stopped trading right here at this false breakout, I would have not been red today. But, if it wasn't for pushing the envelope and trading a little outside my comfort zone and being aggressive, I wouldn't be up as much as I'm up, in total. So I go, all out. I trade aggressively, and that's just the way it is. Now, the important thing, I think, today which is a lesson from last week or 2 weeks ago, is not to keep trading at this point. It's I have an 88% chance of increasing my loss by 50%. I have less than 12% chance of finishing the day green. So making the right decision and not doubling the loss is the best thing I can do today. So that's what I'm going to do. Calm, cool, collected. Take it with the, kind of, well, I don't know what it is. Grain of salt, or take just, it's not that that's really what I was thinking of. But, you take it and you move on. That's all I can really do. So I'm going to take the loss, eat the loss, and move on. Live to trade another day. Never want to empower one trade to end my career. Roll with the punches. There you go. Take it on the chin. Yeah. Never want to let one trade ruin your career, ruin your month. And certainly this didn't. Feels emotionally like it might as well have, because of how kind of crappy it feels. But it doesn't. And a week from now, I'm not even going to remember this loss. You know what I mean? I can recoup it and recover from it so quickly. Within a couple of days, it's water under the bridge and it's gone. But in the moment, it stings, it burns, it hurts. It's not fun. And so, in the moment when you're feeling that emotional reaction, that's when you should not be continuing to trade, because you're frustrated, you're angry, you're disappointed. And if you keep trading, you're going to keep making more mistakes, most likely, with high 88% certainty. And that will result in increasing losses, which will get you even more angry. And then that starts to become this self sort of feedback loop of getting more angry, trading more aggressively, getting more angry, more aggressive. And then all of a sudden, that's when you could be talking about blowing up an account. And I'm doubly upset today because I took essentially the same trade in my small account and lost 4,000 in my small account. So my small account got smoked today, and I was read in it yesterday. So I went from being within $4,000 of closing up the small account challenge to now being $10,000 away. I went from up 26,000 to up only 19,000 in the last 2 days in the small account. So a good size loss, 30% drawdown. But again, not one that's not recoverable. And even if I went, all the way back to flat in the account, even if I took a $20,000 loss and I went back to flat, I know I can still recover even from that. Even if I lost $8 million in a trade, I could recover from that. I could start over with $583.15 and I would recover. So that's something really special about trading. That knowledge that you can recover. You can recover losses. Not that it's fun to do it, not that you ever want to take a loss that big, but on the day that you're red, the knowledge that you have this skill, if you've been one of the 1% that have it, that you can now generate some income, even from a very small amount. It's not for everyone. And most importantly, because of the emotions involved with trading. It's the confidence hit. And I know Larissa has mentioned she's had a couple of really awesome days. And inevitably, she'll have a red day at some point in the future, and she'll feel the same way I'm feeling. I know she's had a day like this, where she's felt this way. And it feels like, in that moment that you'll never recover it. I'll never get back, the loss. It just feels so raw in that moment. But then, you kind of step back a little bit. You look at your metrics. What have I been doing right? What have I been doing wrong? The volume on that one was pretty low, but the rate of change was there. I don't know if there's really any specific kind of takeaway I would have from that trade of, make a new rule or whatever. I don't know, but I think that something that could be helpful for traders in the future with sort of like AI would be if your broker could actually start like, in the moment where I was up like 30,000 and then went back to like break even, like what if the broker was like, okay, you should stop trading right now at zero. You were just up like 30 grand. Because even though you might mentally say, I probably should do that, and even the position in my small account, I was green on it and then it went red. And as it went red, I kept holding. So it would be interesting if there were some things there that would help you kind of, if they were actually back tested. But, I don't think that's going to happen. So it's just trying to think, hope for some way to help you trade better without having to actually just have better discipline. I mean, that's kind of like, would that be nice? Of course it would be nice, but that's not the way it works. IRNT, another one that made a big move, but then retraced it all the way up to 1850, back down to 1550. APOP is selling off, just like it always does. Gap fade, gap fade. So maybe just should have stuck with my kind of gut and not taken any trades today, since I was a little hesitant going into the long weekend and I didn't really like the gap scan. But then we got that Hail Mary pass, and I went for it. So the good news for me is that even after that, I'm still green on the month. I tried, it's kind of like I was up a lot and I said, you know what, let's let it roll. Let's see if I can go from up 60,000 on the month to up 120,000 in one day. And sometimes kind of letting it roll like that is the way you get yourself up $1 million on the month. My best month last year, I was up over $1 million. And it wasn't, without taking risk. I had to take risks to get there. And I had to have trades where I let it roll and didn't sell real quick. I let it turn into a big winner, and I did. So, but then of course, there's been other times where I do that and I just get, kind of smoked. So I could say, oh, I should trade with smaller share size and I wouldn't have red days like this. But then I think what would happen is I would acclimate to the smaller share size. So if I was always trading with smaller share size, like max size of like 5,000 shares, I probably wouldn't have a loss of more than $15,000, $20,000 very often. But I also probably wouldn't have green days of more than, 10,000 either. So when eventually a big red day comes, it would probably feel just as bad as this one does now, because I would have, acclimated to smaller share size. So I'd rather try to keep myself acclimating to experiencing huge losses and being able to recover, because if I can handle the big losses and recover, then I'm going to be able to take and get the big winners. It's if you can't handle the losers that you can't trade with big size. So if you've got the willingness to handle those big losses, those allow you to start scaling up. And I try to trade at the edge of my comfort zone. I try to keep growing, and I pushed myself really hard, especially during the pandemic when we had the big drop in the market and then things started to rally. And I, out of that, became a better trader. My drawdowns have gotten bigger, but the P&L has grown, and I'm sitting up over 2 million, about 2.5 million on the year right now. It'll be my second best year of all time if I finish, anywhere below 5 million. I was up 5 million last year, which was mind-boggling. But I'm at a little over 2.5, well before today. So 2.5 in net profit right now on the year, and we've got all of September, October, November, December. Typically, fourth quarter is my strongest of the year. So going into the end of the year, I hope that I'll have some really solid trades. And we certainly did it even in the last, the last week. And yesterday and the day before were both really good days. So I think we'll have it. We just got to wait for that next stock like RGC or FC, UV. And perhaps, if you wait for something to really start to take off, you miss the beginning of the move. And actually, what's interesting? This one kind of has a similar thing. I could have lost 40,000 on this, right? On a move like that. And then, you fast forward a little bit later and all of a sudden, look at that. Now that definitely is super painful when that happens, because you're like, how is I lost 40 grand and then it did this? But maybe waiting until they really open up a bit more on a little higher volume would be a better idea. I don't know. We'll see. So anyways, that's it for me. Red day recap, but we'll live to trade another day. I'll be back at it on Tuesday. Markets closed on Monday.
I hope you really enjoyed that video, and make sure you hit the thumbs up and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Our goal is to hit 1 million subscribers this year, but we won't get there without your help. So please, please, please hit that subscribe button.